Listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
This is Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. Want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. Be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Williston.
That would be a little weird. Williston or Willistown?
Williston.
Williston.
Williston. Yeah.
Williston.
Yeah, Williston.
That'll work.
That'll work. All right. Wherever you are in our great state, you can enjoy Strange Brew Coffee each and every morning. It's just a click away at strangebrewcoffeehouse.com. This holiday season, nothing beats, if you got a coffee lover, putting that in their stocking, putting some Strange Brew coffee in their stocking, some Strange Brew merch. It's all right there on the website, strangebrewcoffeehouse.com. The Mississippi Beef Council reminds you that beef, it is what's for dinner. I'm already just, my mouth is already watering thinking about my Christmas prime rib. I can't wait. I can't wait. Like, you know, I'm already like, when can I go buy it? When should I buy it? You know, because I'm not going to dry age that thing, so we'll have to wait a few more days. But I'm looking forward to it, and you should be too. Christmas is a beef holiday. That is the day that the cow rules supreme. You know, there was a cow in the barn near the manger where the young baby.
We assume, or a camel, or
there was obviously a camel. Camels were there as well, probably a sheep, but the cow was there. You know, and so be it on that day. So be it every day. We celebrate the cow by eating one.
Gold, frankincense, myrrh, beef.
Beef. There was a fourth. Nobody knows about the fourth wise man, Lenny.
Nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
They all talk about these gifts that the wise men brought, but nobody talks about the cow that was there.
Lenny brought steaks.
They literally fed the family.
Yeah. He got Joseph and Mary the first ever Omaha Steak Club membership. And that's the gift that gives.
I mean, they put that thing in the deep freezer for Jesus's entire first year of birth.
Yes,
just the entire first year, he had everything you could imagine in that deep freezer from that cow.
Like, well, what's for dinner now? I'm thawing out a couple fillets. We're good.
We got a chuck roast, Mary. I got a chuck roast over the fire.
Oh man, our buddy Paul Jones brought me a chuck roast this weekend. He came to the Christmas party. Brought me, you know, he's got a cow or something. He had a big old roast. I was like, oh man, that's gonna be good eating. I can't wait to cook it too.
Well, have you had your T-bone yet?
I have not. I hadn't had a chance to cook it yet. So I got a lot of beef in the freezer.
Don't you dare eat Paul Jones' beef before you eat my beef.
Well, the good thing is eating your beef is easy. It's a steak. That's a 5-minute cook.
Yeah, and you do have to feed your family. I mean, I guess the chuck roast could feed your family. I just got that present for you.
For me, which you should. It was my birthday.
It was your birthday. You deserved it.
Beef, it's what's for dinner. Thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. The story of Lenny, the fourth wise man, is a great one.
Yes.
College Corner, collegecornerstore.com is the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you are looking for. Guys, they have an incredible selection of Mississippi State polos with the state script on them. If you're looking for a new state script polo, if you're ready to change out that. I learned something today, by the way. Do you know what they call the logo that we don't like on campus?
The M State.
They don't call it. They don't call it the banner M.
They call it M State.
They call it the M block.
The M block?
Yeah.
That's the first I've heard of that.
I had never heard that before.
So the people I've talked to that actually like have the licensing and all that stuff, they call it the M State. They think it's ridiculous. We call it the banner.
Well, it's all ridiculous. Get a state script polo at College Corner. 2 locations in the Jackson area, Ridgeland by Fleet Feet, Flowwood by the Half Shell, or shop online, collegecornerstore.com. Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant. Lunch, dinner, Sunday brunch, the best meal in town, always at Restaurant Tyler. If you want to grab a great lunch in the city of Starkville, if you're out doing some shopping on Main Street, or if you just happen to be in town, the best lunch in town is at Restaurant Tyler. That's my favorite blue plate. Great fried chicken, catfish, meatloaf, hamburger steak. They got it all right there at Restaurant Tyler. Enjoy a great lunch at my favorite place, Restaurant Tyler. Priority One Bank, 16 locations to serve you throughout Central Mississippi. Let PriorityOneBank.com be your guide and show you not only where those locations are, but how they're going to help you invest, help you manage your money, help you prepare for the future. All their financial services that they offer, everything those big corporate banks have, but they have that level of service that you can't get with somebody who you don't know. You want to have a relationship with your bank, you want to work in your community, you need to deal with the people at Priority One Bank. Let Priority One Bank make you their priority. Do we need to start sounding us off sirens and stuff? Is it happening?
Let's just
God,
wait.
it's happening.
Calm down. Everybody calm down. Don't move.
All right.
Just calm down.
Pete Nakos, On 3 Sports, national college football reporter, the man who has his finger on the pulse of the transfer portal, has put in a prediction, an RPM, for Miss Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold to land at Mississippi State. Robbie, obviously we talked a lot about this yesterday. We talked a lot about hypotheticals yesterday. Now it looks like we're more cemented in reality. It appears that this move, if nothing else, is I'm not going to say it's imminent, but we will say that it is leaning towards that direction, that Mississippi State will bring in Jackson Arnold and will ship out Michael Van Buren.
It certainly is moving in the right direction. I think Pete and I got information around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's starting to make its rounds, obviously. And I think a lot of that is, just the whole official transfer portal deal where you have to get your name in, all that stuff. But a lot of moving parts here, a lot of moving parts. That's why it's so important for Mississippi State to finish this deal. And I couldn't tell you when that's going to be. I don't know how imminent this is. All I know, based on the talks that I've had with multiple people on this, which we've been alluding to this now for several days, this being a possibility. We felt pretty good about Mississippi State being in the running for Jackson Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
He was a guy that was mentioned with Jeff Lebby when Lebby left to come to Mississippi State. And that, obviously, the connection that they have with that family, Jackson Arnold is, invested in Jeff Lebby. Their family knows that he can develop him. He can put up big numbers in this offense. And I think that's the reason State's in the game here. He has had interest from other big names, Auburn, Georgia, teams like that have inquired about him. I don't know how serious they are about him, but I do know that Mississippi State is very serious about Jackson Arnold. And that's why we had the debate on Monday about this whole situation, because it felt like it was coming, and here it is. So the moving parts here is that you're likely going to lose Michael Van Buren. And while we record this, nothing had, as far as I can tell, nothing's taken place on that front. But I feel certain that's likely going to happen just from the conversations that I've had. And, these things are obviously fluid, but I really feel like Mississippi State is moving in the direction of landing Jackson Arnold as we speak today. And it's very important for Mississippi State to get him on board, because if you don't, then you probably lose Michael Van Buren and Jackson Arnold, and that would be a nightmare scenario for Mississippi State. But as we're speaking at 122 today, I feel very good about Mississippi State freshman quarterback Michael Van Buren finding a new home, or at least entering the portal and testing it out, whatever. Has a very high asking price for Mississippi State from what we've heard, but the Bulldogs were, I think, on board as far as bringing him back until this Arnold stuff really transpired. Mm-hmm. And I think what it really boils down to, based on what I've heard from my sources, is Jeff Lebby believes that Kamario Taylor is the future of this program, quarterback. And he believes that Jackson Arnold is a very good bridge guy for the next 2 years because he's going to be a junior next year. He played in, I think, 7 or 8 games as a freshman, so he's already used 2 years of eligibility. The ideal spot that you're in here is Jackson Arnold starts for you for 2 years. Kamario Taylor is ready as a sophomore to take over as Mississippi State starting quarterback. That is ideal. Jeff Lebby is very, very high on Kamario Taylor, but obviously not ready to throw him into the fire just yet, like they had to with Michael Van Buren. And this is you can't have both of them. It's not going to happen. They would like to have both of them, but it's just not going to work out that way. And Lebby believes this is the way to go with Jackson Arnold, a guy that he's very familiar with. He worked for a season in Lebby's offense, and they believe this is a bridge guy that also helps them right away for these next 2 seasons to win. He's done it in this league. Obviously, the numbers are what they are. Last year, they didn't look great. And I think, like we talked about on Monday, you have to add context to that. It's a guy that was in and out as a starter. They they didn't really handle that situation well. Wide receivers are hurt. Offensive line was a struggle for them, and the offense to me wasn't very good. Lebby believes that he can bring out all the strengths in Jackson Arnold, and we'll see if they're able to land him and if he's able to do it. But as we speak today at 1:25 p.m. on Tuesday or Monday, all signs are pointing to Mississippi State being in the driver's seat for Jackson Arnold. Now they just have to finish.
Now, something you reported on the message board is that you feel like the decision with Van Buren could affect another Mississippi State player in Mario Craver. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mario Craver is very close with Michael Van Buren, as is J.J. Harrell, and Stonka Burnside is too. But based on all the conversations I've had about Stonka, they are not concerned about him currently. They feel like they're in a good spot with him, and he's on board. But obviously, those guys live together. They're very close. They came in all together, and it's tough to lose a guy like Craver. But this is certainly a gamble that Mississippi State's taking. They're putting their chips in on Jackson Arnold here. It's likely going to cost them. Michael Van Buren could cost them Mario Craver, but they also feel confident that they're going to be able to land good wide receivers in the transfer portal as well. So, it's kind of one of those things where State just is part of the deal. And Jeff Lebby is confident in their direction where they're headed right now. So it's all things that are going to come out in the wash, as we say, before long. But that's what I'm hearing, is that it could jeopardize Mississippi State's standing with Mario Craver. I reported on the board on Monday around lunch. Craver was set to meet with Jeff Lebby on Monday to talk more about the situation. They obviously want to keep Mario Craver, but it's not one of those things they're going to, fight super hard or break the bank to keep him, because he also has a very high asking price in his NIL.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think, after watching the way State played last year with Kevin Coleman, that wide receivers, and knowing what they know about Jeff Lebby overall, that wide receivers, it's not going to be too difficult to find some guys. There's a big-time wide receiver from Oklahoma in the portal right now that Jeff Lebby would have recruited, and Nick Anderson. So maybe that's somebody, maybe the connection with Jackson Arnold's enough to get him interested in Mississippi State. We're less than what, 15 hours into the portal at this point. Early on, are you seeing enough that makes you feel like, okay, State's is going to get some of the guys they need to get? I know we see that there's going to be a visit from Old Dominion safety Jerron Manning. Central Florida offensive lineman, is it Cameron Kitker is here or is going to be here this week? Caden Kittler.
He's on campus. He'll leave out tomorrow.
Okay, so he's already here.
We're listening today, Tuesday.
So it feels like there's some early momentum for Mississippi State. Just from the people you talk to over at State, do you feel like they're confident in their ability to bring in a class with difference makers in it?
Yeah, they are. I mean, I'm getting there. I still need to see it happen first, especially at the positions of need, defensive line. We're starting to see it in defensive backfield for sure. I certainly think Manning is a guy that can definitely help you next year. I like that kid a lot. Those are the kind of guys that I think are going to make up the bulk of the class and need to make up the bulk of the class. It's going to be very difficult to go out there. I think I'm just being realistic and saying that Mississippi State could go out there and get top 5 transfer portal players at their position on the defensive side. We'll see on offense that I think they have a wider range of pull there on the offensive side of the ball, but on defense, it's going to be tougher to get the true, highly rated, like impact guys that everybody's going after. But these guys like Manning that are, high grade defensive backs that played football and maybe not on this level, but in the group of 5 that have been really good, those guys can help you. And they have helped SEC teams. Players like that have been really good. If you get a handful of those players on your defense, I think you change things a little bit on that side of the ball. But I'm going to have to see it on the defensive line and some of these other positions. And they need to land some of these guys in the next few days to really give a lot of us confidence. But I'm starting to move in that direction. I think State has a good plan in place. It's just about landing these players now, and you have the money to do it. They have to just finish.
That's going to be – it will be really difficult for Mississippi State if they don't land some of these guys, because you see that the fans have made their commitment, right? There's plenty of money in the coffers, but if you can't land those guys, then fans are going to ask the question, why am I donating?
Yeah.
And then it becomes, it's going to be tough to go back and get more from people when you weren't able to, if you weren't able to spend it. You're going to have people, it's going to be sort of like, if you have a kid, you're just like, what happened to that $5 I gave you yesterday? Oh, I spent that. What'd you spend it on? And then it's crap. And that's what, you gotta land some guys. They've got to land some of these impact guys. I know that's one of the things I've thought with. That's why to me, it's kind of worth maybe taking the risk on Jaheim Otis and spending that money, just because I think perception-wise, you give your fans a win there. You're like, okay, that guy was a highly thought-after defensive lineman, Mississippi kid, and we got him, and Ole Miss wanted him, and we got him. That's worth the win there. And if he pans out, great. And if he doesn't, well, then you weren't any worse off than you were before.
Yeah, for sure. And they're going to have to do that with some of these guys. They're going to have to overpay just for perception. I think that Jackson Arnold is a big perception win for Mississippi State. They're able to land him. I think he helps you certainly on the field. And we'll see. I obviously didn't have a great year, but I like the kid a lot. And I think in this offense, he could look a lot different. But just the fact that, to me, he is one of the, like it or not, he's one of the bigger names right now in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that's being constantly updated by some of the national writers, talked about a lot about, what his destination will be, because he was a highly rated quarterback coming out of high school. He was, essentially the guy for Oklahoma over Dylan Gabriel, right or wrong. And he still has some notoriety to his name. Now, this is going to be his last chance to keep that notoriety if he comes to Mississippi State, because if he doesn't pan out here, then people are just going to give up on him from that standpoint. But it is still a big name that you add to this class, and something that you can really build around if you're Mississippi State, especially on the offensive side of the ball. More so than Blake Shapen, I think, last year.
Oh, definitely.
And I thought Shapen was a good draw, too. He was able to bring in Kevin Coleman. That he was a big reason why State got Kevin Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a chance for Mississippi State to land a guy that I think has that draw to him with offensive playmakers around the country. So that it's big. It's very big for Mississippi State if they can get this deal done. And these next few days are huge for them. I don't know if they're going to need to bring him in for a visit, if he's just agreeing sight unseen. I don't know. Blake Shapen did last year, but I don't know if Arnold will do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's certainly something that Mississippi State needs to get done, because the longer you wait, the more that situation gets muddy. Teams start entering the fray, things like that. You would like to get this thing done as soon as possible.
When do you think we start seeing the first names committing to Mississippi State? Will it happen this week?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Usually after visits, there's a very high possibility that you start to see players commit. And I want to tell people too, like, I've always kind of been of the opinion, like if a player leaves your campus and doesn't commit, it's bad news. But I think that's shifted a little bit. It's a little more cut and dry. It's not as cut and dry as it used to be. A lot of these guys want to take a certain amount of visits, and then they go back and they decide. Last year we saw Jacoby Jackson visit Texas A&M before committing to Mississippi State, and we've seen that before. You would love to lock these guys in, but if the UCF offensive lineman doesn't commit this week, I don't think that's a telltale sign or anything. But obviously, you would love to go ahead and have him on board. Manning, kind of the same way, and we like what we're hearing on Manning. So I don't think that's something to really worry about as we talk. Mm-hmm. But you never know about these players. But I think after visits, you usually start to see those guys commit. It wouldn't shock me to see State pick up a couple of guys this week.
That would be good news for the Bulldogs, absolutely. And these next few weeks, I mean, I go back, Lebby said 15. I can't imagine that's the correct number. I think it's definitely in the 20s, maybe closer to 30 of guys they need to bring in. Just from a defensive perspective, Robbie, they need to bring in like 15 to 16 guys just on that side of the ball. Never mind, they need a quarterback, receiver, possibly a running back, definitely a couple of offensive linemen. So I think Lebby would just give him the benefit of the doubt and just say that he misspoke there when he said 15, unless he just meant 15 new starters and then another 7 or 8 defensive or depth pieces.
I don't see how that's going to be possible to only get 15. I mean, we're seeing new defensive players hit the portal just about every day. It's going to be an entirely new defense at this point, it seems like. So, they probably need to add over 20. Just looking at it and looking at, the guys heading out. I mean, there are over 15 players now that are in the portal. You got graduation, obviously, too. That's a lot of players that have headed out as well. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to imagine Mississippi State just being content with 15. I think it's going to be more than 15. So I don't know.
We shall see. All right, let's move into the rest of the show. That's brought to you by our friends over at Pip Printing and Signs. The sign this week is that Mississippi State might be signing Jackson Arnold. We'll see how that works out for Mississippi State. The sign you need to see is the one that leads you to Pip Printing and Signs. They're the ones who can keep the people coming to your business. They have a plan. They know how to market to businesses. They know how to market to your customers. They know how to get people interested in your message, listening to you, and coming into the door this holiday season. 30 years of experience, guys. They don't just let you stay open because they like you. You got to be doing a good job. That's what Pip Printing Signs has been doing for 30 years here in Mississippi. But don't take my word for it. I want you to call Cam Baker himself and talk to him and say, hey, this is my business. This is what I want to achieve. How can you help me? And he's going to lay out a plan for you. Call him at 601-499-5216. Tell him you heard about it on Thunder and Lightning. When you need printing, call Pip today. Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the heart of the Cotton District is the place to find the smoked Southern soul food that you are looking for. We all know that you're looking for it. We all know that you are wanting to eat good. You can do it at Two Brothers Smoked Meats, or you can go just down the road to the Older Brother and grab you a fancy sandwich. That's right. Starkville's best new restaurant is the Older Brother. A great, great location there. Fantastic atmosphere, and the food, you just cannot beat it. If you want to eat good in Starkville, a trip to the Cotton District at Two Brothers Smoked Meats or the Older Brother will set you right. Great products, great service. Every business likes to promise it to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years.
50?
50. Took 7 to 8 weeks to come fix your copier, was it, Neil? Wasn't no 7 to 8 weeks to do that. It was done the same day because you went with Advantage. But this is what I need to do. I need to create an entire read as Houston Nutt talking about Advantage Business.
Yes, you should.
So I would put it this way:
just don't do the story about Jeremiah Masola.
No. I told that story Saturday night. It was great. Yeah. So would we say that Advantage Business Systems is in the circle of trust?
Yes.
They are certainly not in the land of the uninvested. So
no, they're not.
Very good. Very good. Good to know. Advantage Business Systems, 601-362-9192, or visit them online, absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. Do you like the shirt that I'm wearing right now? If you're watching on YouTube, do you like this shirt? If you like this shirt,
I like that shirt.
I know where you can get one. It's at Maroon & Co. They have this shirt along with dozens of other shirts that you cannot find anywhere else. If you are looking for something in Mississippi State that looks different, it's got a little different flair than the other stuff you find at every other MSU store, you need to shop at Maroon & Co. Use our promo code Thunder15 to save 15% off on all regular price items. Some exclusions do apply. Before you go to Davis Wade Stadium, before you go to the Hump, before you go to Dudy Noble, make sure you go to Maroon & Co. Mississippi State basketball back into the top 25. That's good news. That's well-deserved. You had to figure, even the way they played on Sunday, the dominant performance against a ranked team this past week against Pitt, you had to feel like they were going to get back into the rankings pretty easily.
Yeah, I hate that they had the game that they did against Prairie View, but it felt like it was going that. I mean, it's hard to keep them out, right? I mean, you blow out a top 20 team by 30 points in the way that they did it. There was such a dominating effort. You can't keep them out after that. I mean, their only loss to this point is to Butler, who I think is a solid team on a neutral site. And if you watch Mississippi State play, especially in that game against Pittsburgh, I know they've been kind of up and down the last 3 games, but if you watch State play and come away and say, you know, that's not a top 25 team, and you put all of the metrics together and all that, then I just question your thoughts on basketball as a whole. This is a top 25 team. Now they just have to be playing a little better basketball more consistently on both ends of the court. But I like that the fact that they're kind of sitting where they are right now, middle of the conference slate. You're, top 25 or net team, your top 25 team overall. I think that they're in a really good spot before they even get into conference play in what is going to be one of the most competitive conference seasons we've ever seen in the SEC.
Yeah, the SEC is just crazy. I mean, we talked about the way that they dominated the ACC challenge. I think it was 14-2 in that, and 2 of the higher ranked teams were the ones that lost. The new number 1 team in the nation is Tennessee right now. Auburn is 2nd, Kentucky 5th, Alabama 7th, Florida 9th, Oklahoma is 13th, A&M is 17th, Ole Miss 19th, and then Mississippi State sitting there at 25th. In the receiving votes, you've got Arkansas and you've got Georgia and Texas currently. So this conference season is going to be absolute madness for everybody, and even teams that finish 9-9, teams that finish even 8-10 are going to be tournament teams for this. That was the case the past couple of years with State at 8-10 being able to get in. 8-10 this year in this conference with the way the net's going to look. It's just going to be silly. You might have an 8-10 team that ends up as a 6 seed.
I mean, can this conference get double-digit teams?
Well, I mean, as it sits right now, let's just look at the net. Let's go over here to the net. So Tennessee 1, Auburn 2, Kentucky 5 there. Florida is 7th there currently. Alabama's 10th. We got to scroll down a little bit. Mississippi State, they're at 20th. Georgia is at 22nd. So they're 8-1 on the year. I don't know quite what to expect from Georgia. But
I think they'll be better than we all think, but I don't know.
But that being said, if they're 22nd today, if they finish with 7 or 8 conference wins, they're probably going to be okay. So, yeah, they could get in. Ole Miss is 29th currently. Texas A&M is 32nd currently. Missouri is 35th currently. They just beat Kansas. Got to think Missouri, who was terrible a season ago.
That was wild.
Missouri was so weird. They were good the first year under the new coach, whose name it just slipped out of my head there.
Dennis Gates.
Dennis Gates, right? So they were great the first year. They were a tournament team, and then they completely fell apart last year. But now this year they beat Kansas. They look like they're on their way back. So they could end up. I mean, right now they would be a tournament team. Oklahoma is 44th, so they would be a bubble team. Arkansas is on the bubble at 49. LSU is on the bubble at 56. LSU is much better, much improved thus far. They're 8-1 on the year. You knew that was going to be a process there when the entire team left prior to Matt McMahon's first season. So we'll see if he's able to turn that around a little bit. Texas, very much a bubble team at 64. there's a good chance that the SEC is a 10 bid league.
Nine, nine top 25 teams
Yeah.
is insane. That's football stuff. That's
Yeah.
baseball stuff.
Yeah.
That's what the conference is doing in some of those other sports. Basketball hasn't been like this until the last couple of years, and it's because the universities are starting to invest more in basketball. I go back to like a few years ago. Remember that state team that was like top 4, top 5 in the league, and they were on the bubble to be in the NCAA tournament. The league had really, I think, assessed itself and said, we've got to get much better at this sport. We're just not up to snuff. You had John Calipari and, Bama wasn't really where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of fluctuating with other teams. Tennessee was starting to come up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But, you add a Rick Barnes, which Ben Howland was kind of
part of that. Was absolutely part of that.
When they started to really kind of rebuild the conference, Ben Howland was kind of at the front of that with Rick Barnes and guys like that. And then you get a Nick Oaks in here, and you get a Chris Jans, now a Chris Beard, and Buzz over at A&M. I mean, it's just getting stronger and stronger because you're hiring elite coaches and you're investing.
Yeah.
And so it's really amazing to see. And there's going to be teams like. There's going to be a team like what A&M usually does that right now we're talking about they stink, and then they come out of nowhere and are a really good basketball team. And there's a team that we're talking about right now that's like what Ole Miss was last year. That was really good in non-conference, and then they were not very good in conference play. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll see some changes up and down, but for the most part, I think what you can say is this is going to be a really, really competitive conference this year.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And yeah, the SEC slate is going to be unbelievable. There's going to be great college basketball each and every weekend. Really looking forward to that. Big games though for Mississippi State between now and then though. We talked about yesterday these 2 neutral sites, and then on the road to Memphis. State needs to find a way to at least get 2, and if they can get all 3, they're going to be in a great spot. I mean, right now when you think about we talked about it yesterday, that Memphis game would be a quad 1 win for Mississippi State. That would be, I believe, State's second quad 1 win. They would be 2-1 in quad 1 already before they play a single conference game. That's a good spot. That's a good spot for Mississippi State to be in at this point in December. All right, tomorrow's show, it's the Rumblings. We are back. The Rumblings presented by Paul Davis Restoration, our new sponsor for the Rumblings. Yes. So we'll talk about anything you want to talk about. Send your questions in. Robbie, if we'll fire off the tweet, we will be happy to answer all of your questions on tomorrow's show. Don't forget, no Thursday podcast this week. No Thursday podcast, but we will have a Friday podcast for you as well. All right, guys, have a great Tuesday. Back with you on Wednesday. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder Lightning here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.